Hey, Bruiser Buddies, this is Wrestling Nostalgia with Dave Dynasty.
Before we dive into the episode, make sure you hit subscribe on the podcast platform you're listening on. Also, follow me on X at The Dave Dynasty and subscribe on YouTube by looking up Nostalgic Dave Dynasty. You can also buy one of my shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com/The Dave Dynasty. Now, enjoy the show.
Welcome to 1 hour of the toughest, roughest wrestling you'll ever see.
That's right, Dick the Bruiser said it all.
The big question, have you got the endurance? Have you got the brains to get past the excellence of execution?
The reason why Axe and myself were put on this earth is to demolish people.
Bobby Heenan, that is a very good-looking sport coat you've got on.
Yeah, and I paid for mine. Mine isn't government issue.
Hello, everybody. Lance Russell and Dave Brown right along ringside. By golly, we're ready to go with another big week of championship wrestling.
Great wrestling fans, and welcome to Wrestling Nostalgia. I'm your host, Dave Dynasty. Thank you for joining me for another episode, and also thank you for the great response to the last episode with guest Rob Van Dam. It was a fun interview, and like I said, likely the most high-profile guest I've ever had, and I'm glad you all enjoyed it. Remember, there is a video version of the interview available on my YouTube channel, so be sure to check it out. This episode, my guest is Jack Kruger. He's a former wrestler and manager. This is an interview I've worked on getting for a long time, and I have to thank Jack's wife, Melanie, for helping me set this up. This is Jack's first ever podcast appearance and his first long-form interview of any type. Once he left wrestling, he was done. That was it. So this is an exciting conversation that I'm honored to have had. So let's get right to it. Take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have my interview with Jack Kruger. Filsinger Games is a tabletop cards and dice game company that has enjoyed success for over 3 decades. Their first game was Champions of the Galaxy and was released in 1986. Champions of the Galaxy is a tabletop game that features professional wrestling over 100 years in the future. Humans, aliens, and monsters battle in the Galactic Wrestling Federation for belts. Legends of Wrestling features officially licensed wrestling cards featuring stars like Ted DiBiase, Jimmy Snuka, Harley Race, and many, many more, including game sets for independent promotions. Each match takes place in real time. The action is fast and furious, and all the things that happen in pro wrestling, like cage matches, outside interference, 3-man tag matches, they also happen in the games. You have the opportunity to run your own wrestling promotion involving either real life stars or fictional characters of the future, or you can mix and match both. Visit filsingergames.com for more information and to order the games today. That is Filsinger Games, FILSINGERGAMES.com to order now. If you like horror movies, be sure to check out Dave Dynasty and Ike Isaacs on the Listen to Their Screams horror podcast. It is available on all podcast platforms and on social media at Listen to Screams. That is Listen, the number 2, and Screams. Okay, and welcome back. At this time, I'm being joined by the man formerly known by many names, including Sheikh Ali Hassan, Abdullah Ali Hassan, and the Iranian assassin, Mr. Jack Kruger. Jack, how are you?
I'm fine.
Well, that's good. I'm so excited to talk to you. And now, because this is your first ever podcast appearance, interview kind of thing you've done, right?
Yes.
That's exciting. That's exciting. I'm so excited to hear your stories. So talk to us a little bit. Let's go way back. What is your first memories of professional wrestling as a kid?
Dick the Bruiser, the Crusher, Wilbur Snyder.
All right.
Brazil,
you were born in Illinois. Is that correct?
Indiana, Illinois. Yeah, I'm from Chicago, raised in Danville.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, you were getting that Midwest stuff. And this is, what is this? The late 50s, early 60s as you were a kid, right?
No. Oh, yeah. When I was watching, yeah.
Yeah. So you're watching and all these great guys. So when did you know that, hey, you know what? I'd like to give this a try. I'd like to be a professional wrestler.
Well, I had a good friend, very good friend.
Okay.
And I hung out with him. He was the one that took me to get my driver's license and all that. And he was the one that got me into wrestling.
Okay.
And next thing, I went in the Army, came back, and he gave me a job as a manager at a Payless gas station.
Okay.
And we had a thing right there next to the gas station. We called it Knuckle Hill.
All right. What was Knuckle Hill?
And then everybody wanted to wrestle because nobody could beat me.
Oh, okay.
So we go up Knuckle Hill, and Larry would tell me, you could be a wrestler, I'll be your manager.
Okay.
And I said, okay. And I ended up becoming the chief of police of Potomac, Illinois.
Oh, all right.
And the matches were coming. So I went down to Danville High School gym and used the badge to get in, I ain't paying. So I go in and I'm watching. I kept going down to the dressing room because I'm aware of Bruiser and Crusher, and they both were there.
Uh-huh.
So I go in and start talking to Crusher, and he's thinking that I'm already a friend of Dick's because of me being a cop.
Okay.
And Sam Miniker kept coming down in and running me out of the dressing room. You can't be in here, Chief. Hey, I'm the chief of police of that town right there, and I'll go anywhere I want. So I kept hanging around and showing up, and then Paul Christie kind of took care of me, Golden Boy Paul Christie.
Yeah.
And I'm hanging out with him, going to towns. I'm not even wrestling yet.
Mm-hmm.
But when I asked Bruiser at Danville High School that night, how do I get into that business? He says, show up at Indianapolis. We're doing a show there Saturday. I said, I'll be there. And then he hooked me up with Prince Polens.
Yeah,
a guy named Calvin Prince Polens. And he was going to train me.
Uh-huh.
Well, a couple months, and he broke his ankle or his foot or something. So he couldn't do nothing anymore. And then Blackie Guzman was a Mexican wrestler.
Yep.
Lived in Chicago. And he had a ring in his garage, and we'd go there and train. And he told me there's no charge for training you once you get a license. Back then, we all had to have licenses.
Sure.
Wrestling license. So I got the license. I would go up to Chicago a lot and work out in the garage and learn. And then one day it happened. You got your stuff with you? Yes, I do. Well, get it on your wrestling Spike Huber.
Yeah, okay.
I said, okay. And then after that, I just kept rocking and rolling. And I was probably in the business for right about a year.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul Christie hooked me up with Angelo Poffo.
Okay.
It was to become partners with Emile Dupre in the Maritimes, Canada, Grand Prix Wrestling. So
sure.
Me and Mark Shera, who was Rip Rogers.
Rip Rogers, yep.
Yeah, we go off to Moncton, New Brunswick, and started working there. That was my first time I'd left my home area where I started.
Yeah.
Wrestled up there, and then I met a guy named Angel Acevedo, who was the Cuban Assassin.
Cuban Assassin. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And while I'm in the Maritimes, he asked me if I would be his tag team partner and be Cuban Assassin number 2.
Okay.
because his other partner had already quit and do whatever he did.
Yeah.
And so we go to Calgary and wrestle as partners there.
Yeah.
And that went off pretty good. And then after Calgary, I came back home. And anytime I was coming home, I would call Bruiser about 2 weeks ahead of time. And this Kruger, well, I'll be home in about 2 weeks. He said, Kruger, where are you, Kruger? Hey, I'm up here in Canada. When you let me get my book. And he'd come in and line me up with matches. Dick took a liking to me. We used to go do interviews on Tuesdays at Channel 4 in Indianapolis.
Sure, right.
And Jimmy Valiant's there, his manager Duke George, Paul, everybody's there. And then that was where I started learning to do interviews, was because of Bruiser. So I make this interview, and Bruiser says, come on, we're coming with me. So we go to Brown County State Park in Indiana.
Yeah.
At the Ranger station, he got 2 dirt bikes in the garage there, and they also had a pistol firing range back there.
Yeah.
And so we go dirt biking, and then when we got done with that, we'd target shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And Bobby Heenan told me, listen, Bruiser's going to keep taking you. You don't pass him. If you're on the trails and you pass him, you'll regret it.
Okay.
Bruiser was nuts. He'd drive through everything, off cliffs. So I stayed behind him.
Sure.
I ain't going to get him fired up.
Yeah.
But I did that for a long time, and then I missed a couple of TVs.
Okay.
Jimmy Valiant, and then I show up at the house show, and Jimmy Valiant says, where you were? I said, well, I don't even remember. He said, well, Bruiser made the statement that if I didn't show up for the next TV, I'm not going to work for a few weeks. And I showed up, and back to Brown County we went. That was really interesting.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of fun with Dick.
Yeah. So when you came back with Bruiser, right, and started working with, he called you were Sheikh Ali Hassan in the early days. What was that, a Bruiser name that he gave to you?
No, Bruiser. I first started as Jack Kruger, the bounty hunter.
Right. Yeah.
And
you even worked under a mask for a while, right? A little bit.
Did what?
You worked under a hood for a little bit, didn't you?
No, I never. One time I wore the hood, and that was in Cincinnati against Jake the Snake with the WWF.
Okay, gotcha. All right, I thought you wore the hood a little bit as the bounty hunters, but yeah, you did the bounty hunter thing for a bit. So where did the Ali Hassan thing come from?
All right, now I've been up for Stu Hart and everything, and now I'm a Cuban assassin. Sure. And I come home, and I'm talking to Jimmy Valiant and them guys, and I say, well, I'm going to get a hold of Jarrett and see, can I come in to the Mid-South or whatever they called that back then.
Memphis. Yeah.
And so I showed up down there in Evansville.
Right.
I said, instead of sending pictures, let me just show up at the Evansville show and put me to work for that night, and then you go from there. You either want me or you don't.
Sure.
So I go out with Ricky Morton, and I have my match, come back to the dressing room, and Jerry Lawler and Jerry Jarrett called me to the side and said, listen, we want to change your name if you don't have a problem to Ali Hassan, a man from Iran. I said, well, I don't care what you call me, just pay me. I want the bucks.
Baby, yeah.
And that put me on top being an Iranian, because at that time they had the 50 hostages and all that.
Yeah.
I'm lucky I didn't get shot.
Really? Yeah. And
then
so you brought that gimmick and that name when you came back to Bruiser. Then it just stuck with it.
Oh yeah, that I was him from the rest of my career, except for the very end when I was Jack Kruger for WWF.
Sure. Yeah, we'll get to that. But when you worked for Bruiser, did you drive the ring truck quite a bit for Bruiser?
No, I had to do that one night.
Okay, just one night. Okay.
Yeah, Spike Huber had to do it. Well, that was his son-in-law, and Steve Regal, who was Wilbur's son-in-law.
Right. Yeah.
And they took care of the ring.
Okay.
Except
Gotcha.
I don't know why neither one of them was there, but I had to take it to Michigan City, Indiana.
Gotcha. Okay.
And
well, when you worked for Bruiser, you teamed a lot with Abdullah the Great, it was Buster Adams, right?
No, Abdullah.
Yeah, Abdullah. Yeah, which is a name that a lot of people outside the Midwest don't know of Abdullah the Great or Buster Adams. What was it like working with Buster and teaming with him and everything?
Oh, good time. In fact, we did a house show in Indy, and after the show, he was in a motorcycle club.
Oh, okay.
So we go over there, and there's Rufus R. Jones is in there too.
Okay, yeah.
So we're talking, signed a wall and all that, but yeah, he was a good partner. Won the belts with him there.
Yeah, you guys had a nice run there in '82 as tag champs. Yeah, and this was right before Dick the Bruiser, for a short period, he started working with Jerry Jarrett. And this is a weird time for Bruiser. What do you remember about that time period when Jerry Jarrett was helping Dick the Bruiser in Indiana? Do you remember all that?
Not the office part of it. I was just one of the boys. I wasn't involved with the politics or the wrestling part of that part. But it was Jimmy Hart and Steve Regal that gave me my opportunity for Memphis, because Jimmy was going between Indianapolis and Memphis.
Right. Yeah, he was managing the New York Dolls. Yeah.
Yep. And that's how they said, Kruger. In fact, Jimmy Valiant didn't know my name was Kruger. He always thought it really was Cougar.
Okay.
Because he wanted a picture, and I had it in a manila envelope to hang up in his office there at his wrestling school.
Uh-huh.
And he looked at that, he goes, wow, here I thought all these years your name really was Cougar. And no, I'm sorry, Jimmy.
Oh, so tell me a little bit, right? Because there was the partnership in Indianapolis with Bruiser and Wilbur Snyder. But in that early 80s, the mid 80s, Wilbur retired. So, but before that, what was it like, the ownership with Bruiser and Snyder? How did that work?
I think that they had a good deal. Sometimes they would split up, and Wilbur would be on one card somewhere, Bruiser would be on another card somewhere.
Yeah.
And it always seemed they got along great. And whenever we would do a TV taping at in Indianapolis at the big building.
Yeah, the Armory, yeah.
Yeah. No, not the Armory. The convention
center. The Expo Center, yeah.
And him and Bruiser shared their own dressing room.
Mm-hmm.
They're the bosses. Okay. And that's where they would come up with what your pay was for the night, where you were on the card and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But, Bruiser actually was the one that started me and let me come home and call him in advance and always could get a booking.
Yeah. Yeah, and during that early to mid 80s, there was a lot of pretty good young talent there with like you mentioned, Spike Huber, Steve Regal, Jerry Jaffe, Jerry Graham Jr., Chris Carter, Great Wojo, all that and everything else. What did you think of some of that young talent that Bruiser had there in the early to mid 80s?
I was impressed with some of them, but the majority was not so great. But, you know, that I only worked with baby faces. I didn't work with any heels because I was a heel.
Sure, right.
And the baby faces I worked were pretty good. The only one I ever had a problem with was Mark Shera.
Rip Rogers, right? So okay, so
right.
Tell us, excuse me, what was that? What problems did you have with Rip?
Well, we're wrestling in the Maritimes, and Emil Dupre, who was the other promoter with the Paphos, jumped on my chest and kind of slipped and cracked 3 of my ribs. Now that I'm just getting into Canada, and I don't have no money, so I got to work.
Yeah,
and
right.
I would go to the ring in North Sydney, Nova Scotia. I'm bent over walking to the ring because I couldn't stand straight up. I get warmed up a little bit in there, enough to where I could work but not take big bumps.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Couldn't go flying for them. So we get back to Moncton where we lived, and we shared an apartment with the Cuban assassin. And he comes back out of my bedroom and said, "You'll never do that to me again." I said, "Excuse me? Do what to you?" He said, "You made me look bad out there." I said, "Well, how bad did you look standing over me with your hand in the air? I mean, come on. I just went out there and did a job for your ass, and now you're back in here complaining?" And I got the busted ribs. They knew I had cracked ribs. I couldn't lay down. I couldn't sit up. Had to cough all the time, and that really hurt.
Sure, yeah.
And that just hit me the wrong way, and I explained, I don't care who you become in this business, I will never do another job for you.
Yeah.
And
that
never worked with him after that.
Yeah. That's that's peculiar.
I went over to Macho Man's apartment the next day. I went over there, and I told him, I said, "Randy, don't book me against him unless he can really take it, because I'm not giving it."
Yeah.
And I told him what happened, and I was never booked against Rip Rogers again. Mark Shera. He actually used his real name, I believe, the first time we went there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
tell me, did you ever meet Bruiser's wife, Lois?
Louise.
I'm sorry, yeah. Louise,
And,
yeah. Did you ever meet her?
Oh, yeah. I've been to Bruiser's house, and in fact, Bobby Heenan used to tell stories when he would go to Bruiser's house, because Bruiser gave him his start too.
Yeah,
and
right.
They go over there, and they come back from a town, and they're getting ready to cut through the garage to get to the pool patio. He had a bar out there and everything. And they're walking, and Bruiser told Bobby, "Watch this." He had a hedgerow, not very high, and he said he's going to do a flip and land on his feet on the other side of the hedge. Well, Bruiser takes off running, jumps, and comes right down on his head and neck. He didn't make it to his feet.
Yeah.
So now his head and neck he wants to snap that back. So he goes in, gets a rope, makes a noose, ties it over the boards in the garage, gets on a chair and puts his head in the noose and starts putting his weight on there to try to pop his back, his neck and everything back in. And the chair, he kicked it out by accident. And Bobby Heenan runs over and is trying to get the weight off of him so he can get untied. And Rio come out. That was her nickname, Rio.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
And he come in. She came in there and started screaming, "Don't do it, Bobby! Don't do it!" She's done.
Oh man.
Yeah, he thought Bobby Heenan was killing Dick the Bruiser. Unbelievable.
Well, everybody always says that Rio hated pro wrestling. She didn't like the business. Yeah.
After Spike got divorced from Bruiser's daughter.
Right, yeah.
And Dick had already passed, and I stopped by there to try to get them old tapes. And I was going to try to put some tapes together for the mid-Illinois, Indiana, parts of Michigan, everywhere in that little area. And she said, nope, she ain't getting rid of them tapes. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But no, she never cared much for the boys or anything. But Bruiser would always have parties at his house around the pool. In fact, there's a manager out of Detroit, Willie Lump Lump, and he come over saying he could do all this escape stuff. So Bruiser gets a chair, ties him to the chair, and throws him in the pool.
Oh, no.
And there's a few boys there. Hey, Dick, you going to go in and get him out? And Bruiser said he could get out by himself.
Oh, no.
Finally, one of the guys that were there dove in the pool and got old Willie out.
Gosh.
Another party, he's got Willie dressed in like a tiger suit.
Okay.
Costume. And he's parking cars for the people that are coming to Bruiser's house for the party.
Yeah.
Well, this carload of people came by and cut off the tail on that costume. And Dick was the one that had rented it. So now Willie's got to go in and tell Dick what happened.
Yeah.
And everybody just lost it because here he comes in with this tiger suit on with no tail. They cut the tail. I think Bruiser made him pay for the costume.
Probably, I bet.
But yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so tell us a little bit of.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to ask you about Bruiser's schedule. Because, Bruiser, he had a few towns that he ran every 3 to 4 weeks, Indianapolis, etc., right, that he always consistently ran. He had other towns he ran once a month, and then spot shows. What did you have a consistent schedule working for Bruiser that you knew you could depend on and plan on, or was it kind of sporadic?
Pretty much we did Indy, Hammond, Indiana. Those were 2 regulars that you can count. You're going to go there, and there was another big show that we did almost every week. And then we would bounce around doing the same towns, but there'd be a month or 2 months in between doing a show there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there was towns, right? Like you notice, depending on the time, right? He'd pop up in Fort Wayne once every month, or Terre Haute once every month, or Elkhart once every month. But then there'd be periods where it wouldn't happen for a month or two. But then there's all these other spot shows that he would do, like different places that he would just do once every few months.
Yeah, and we did a lot of fair dates.
Yeah, right. A lot of that.
So,
but like you mentioned earlier, though, right? There was the promos for TV, which was on Tuesdays.
Right.
Tell me a little about these. Right, were those when you were working there? You're saying it was with WTTV4. That's when Bruiser was still with Channel 4. And you would do these promos on Tuesday. Tell me a little bit about going in and doing the promos for Bruiser. What was that like?
Oh, that was fun because all the props for Popeye and Janie and Sammy Terry and all that were still there in the studio, and we'd mess with that. We'd hide his little Spider and Sammy Terry.
George.
Yes, George. And then
George, yeah.
Cowboy Bob had a few props. We always took care of them too. We never broke anything, but we would put them or hide them to where they damn wrestlers.
You're totally talking my childhood there with J&E, Cowboy Bob, Sammy Terry. I grew up on all that stuff coming out of TTV4 and Bruiser, obviously. But yeah, so you'd go in and tape these promos, whatever, for every week for for the upcoming shows. What was that? Tell me how that process would work. You'd show up, would Bruiser just tell you, all right, cut a promo for this guy, this town? How did it work with recording those promos?
Well, Dick would always get his book out and see who's on where and where this tape will be seen in this area. So this is what you're going to do for this town. Terre Haute was one of our regulars.
Yep.
And we would do promos for all them. And Dick would come in, sit down, look at the book. Okay, Jimmy Valiant, Duke George, you're next, and we would do the interviews.
Sure. Okay.
And then when we quit using Channel 4, Dick went to Channel 6 and in and out.
WRTV6. Right. That's right.
In fact, when we were making that movie, Modern Day Houdini, we did all the promos and everything out of the Channel 6 studio.
Yeah. Yeah. Were you in that Modern Day Houdini movie?
Yes, I was. I shouldn't admit it, but yeah.
I remember. I don't think I've ever seen that movie, but there's so much hype at that time in the newspaper and stuff about Dick the Bruiser and doing this movie with this guy and everything.
Yeah, Mark. His name was Mark too, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, but it was.
But his family owned a radio station.
Okay.
And they had money, and he wanted to do this movie, and the guy that was doing the movie liked me. In fact, he wanted to give me the part that Bruiser gave to Ox Paker. He wanted, because Ox had already been in Escape from New York and all that.
Sure, yeah.
But Peter Lupus, who was the star, it was supposed to be, everybody in that movie was from Indiana.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Except me. I was from Illinois.
Close. Yeah, close. Yeah.
We were shooting that movie all night, and that's the first time I still had my tights and everything on. Yeah. And me and I forgot who the other wrestler was went with us, but we went to the tavern to get some drinks to take back. And that was the first time I'd ever been limoed with a Rolls Royce to go pick up beer.
Well, that's all right? Can't beat that. Well, and outside of Indianapolis, you had a really good run in Portland in 82 to 83, working for Don Owens. You held the Pacific Northwest title, which the main title in that. So what'd you think of your time in Portland and working for Don Owens?
I loved it. Made a lot of money there. Don Owens was a good payday man.
Sure.
And I was on top the whole time I was there.
Yeah,
and that's,
like I said,
that's not a bad thing.
No, I mean, like I said, Pacific Northwest champion, which was their top title. And not to mention, you lost that title to a young Curt Hennig.
Exactly.
Who obviously went on to huge things. Very early in his career, though, working Curt Hennig, could you see the talent, the promise, the potential in him when you worked him at that time?
When you first lock up with somebody in the ring, you know right away if they're got the talent they're going to need to be successful. And sure. Curt was, he was so thankful. That night we went to the bar because Piper was there, Flair was there. The night I dropped it to Curt. And Curt kept following me around and kept thanking me. But, now they're with WWF, and they're in Augusta, Georgia, doing a show, and I lived down there at that time.
Okay. Yeah.
And I showed up, and I had my stepson-in-law with me because he was a big fan, and took him into the dressing room to meet Kurt and the Steiner brothers. And Kurt, this is my son-in-law, and he went over and shook his hand. He says, "Let me tell you, that man right there did me the biggest favor you could do somebody in this business," because that was the first belt Kurt ever won.
Yeah. Which is wild, right? Because at that time, when you were meeting him, introducing him to him, Kurt's one of the biggest stars in wrestling at that point. And yeah, to pay you that respect, that's nice, right? That's pretty great.
Oh yeah, he was Mr. Perfect then, and he put me over big time.
Sure.
To the kid.
Yeah. Well, and obviously, like for me, I grew up in Indiana. I remember you mostly from the Indianapolis, the Bruiser days, but a lot of people know you from your run in WWE. And you did preliminary work, right? Jobbing and everything, and a lot of people remember that. But let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about the Kamala stuff, because a lot of people remember the Kamala match where you were stretchered out after getting splashed. Then you later did an interview saying you'd never wrestle Kamala again. So tell us about that.
Well, that was business, you know. We were in South Bend, Indiana, doing the show.
Okay.
They come and tell me, you're going to be Kamala, but it's going to be pretty much a squash job. What do I care? You know, keep the paychecks coming.
That's
they, at least Kamala did things to make me look like, hey, I'm not just a jerk, but he hit me with his mask in the head right at the start, and gave me that splash, and they toted me out on the stretcher.
Yeah.
And then we're in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm sitting there. Might have been Tucson. Yeah, it was Tucson. And I'm getting dressed, and Terry Garvin comes in and says, "Come on, you got to do an interview." Oh, okay. Maybe they're going to start using me. I don't know. And
sure.
Yeah, and when I get there, it's to do the interview about Kamala.
Right, okay.
Where I never would wrestle him again, and he should be barred, and Jack Tunney, the president, he should get rid of that guy. He's going to kill somebody. And Vince is right there monitoring your interview.
Yeah.
So that was...
Well, they were trying to make Kamala, right, look like this savage, make the splash look deadly, right? So that was part of it, right? It was
Yes.
Yeah, to get that over.
Yeah, because he didn't finish me with just hitting me in the head with his big wood mask and stuff. He finished me with off the second rope a splash.
Sure. Yeah.
And that was it. That was the finish.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, when they think of Jack Kruger and they think of the WWE, they think of your time as a referee. Because
the last thing I did for the business was be a referee.
Yeah, and a lot of people, that's what they know you from, and you stood out as a referee, and so a lot of people, that's what they remember Jack Kruger as, is that WWE referee. So tell me, first of all, how did that happen, the transition to referee? How did that work?
Chief Strongbow.
Okay.
Really did like me, and he knew that I wasn't going to get no push with the WWF.
Okay.
So he was the one actually that talked to Terry Garvin, who was the head of the transportation of the rings and stuff. And I was driving our semi truck to all TV tapings.
Okay.
And Tucson again, that's where I'm walking through there, and Chief sees my Masonic ring, and he calls me over. I had my brother with me then, because I used to get to call my dad or my brother to come help me drive, like from California to Detroit, which we did for WrestleMania 3.
Yeah, okay.
And Chief made me cut the mustache. I didn't understand all that. He was maybe trying to disguise me a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, it was Strongbow that talked to Garvin and Vince, and next thing I know, I'm not doing jobs, I'm doing refereeing. And I was a very loud referee. I've heard people comment about that. Well, you were very vocal.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess I am.
Yeah. Well, all the things you've done in your career, right? You had these great runs, did a lot in the ring, but because of TV exposure, what is it like to know that because of that, what you might most be recognized as is this end of your career, the referee? Does that just seem kind of funny to you?
No.
Doesn't matter.
I came in quietly, I left quietly.
There you go. All right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because it's funny, because a lot of people, they know, oh, there's this Jack Kruger, this referee. Then they discover that, oh, Jack Kruger had this whole wrestling career. Before that, it's not the other way around, right? They don't know of you, and then it's like this backwards. They remember you or recognize you from a referee, and then they discover, well, you did the Sheik thing and all that. So it's, I mean, I guess whatever it takes to get you recognized, right? I mean, whatever.
Yeah. Well, back when I was actually working in the ring, you wanted that recognition and people know who you were.
Yeah, and you were on TV a lot as a referee.
Yeah. And I also was on TV a lot, and when it was territorial in the different territories. Like Paul Ellering and I were the tag team champions in Memphis.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Where Jimmy Hart was our manager.
Yep. And yeah, that's what I'm saying. You had this really great career in all these places. And it just depends. Again, like a lot of people remember you as a referee. I don't. That's not me. That's not what. Because I grew up watching Bruiser TV. That's what I remember you from. That's where I first saw you and experienced you. So it's just, I guess, a matter of perspective, right? Where you're. You know, some people remember you from Memphis.
Yeah.
And some people remember you from Portland. It just depends. Back in the day, where you were and what TV you were watching.
Yeah, and the same thing up in Canada. One winter.
Right, or Canada, sure. So, and that's,
I go in there and I'm a Cuban assassin #2, and then I come back the next winter and I'm a Sheik.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they didn't ever pick up on that.
That's right. Yeah.
I didn't change my look.
Yeah.
Still had the long hair and beard, and met a lot of good guys that in the business that I was with. But they say in the wrestling business, if you can get away from there with just one good friend, you did something. You accomplished something.
Right.
Because mainly it's like a military career. If you're in the Army, yeah, you're buddies with these guys when you're there with them, but then you go home and you lose track and everything.
Sure. But if Jack Kruger ran into Spike Huber, you guys, or whoever, you guys would start talking just like it was yesterday when you were sharing a locker room, wouldn't you?
I was driving a truck, and I went to Memphis. Spike moved to Memphis, remarried Bruiser's daughter.
Yeah.
And I called Spike and told him where I was there in Memphis. He come picked me up. And we went around, and I went to the house. I talked to Rio on the phone. They had to call Rio and said, hey, this Kruger, he used to work for Dick. So she get in there and act like she was one of my best buddies on the phone.
Yeah.
Because I even asked Spike, man, ain't no way you can get your hand on them tapes? Because you're looking at Bobo Brazil
Yeah. Well, he did end up remarrying Michelle, and he didn't get the tapes. The tapes went somewhere else when
Right.
Rio passed away. Yeah, but it's it's funny how those things work. But so I am curious with the beard, right? You always know. Well, prior to the referee, you had the beard, the mustache. Did you have the beard first, or did you grow that in when you started doing the Sheik thing?
No, I was a Cuban before the Sheik.
Okay, right. Oh, you're right. So did you grow it in for the Cuban thing, or did you already have that?
I actually started it with the bounty hunter thing, and we would sit in the room, and Jimmy Valiant would give me, "Hey, let it grow wild. Just let that shit grow wild, Cougar." Okay, and I did, and it was a good heel look.
If anybody's going to talk to you about the beard growing wild, it's Jimmy Valiant, right?
That's right.
He's still got the wild beard.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, in the early 90s, as a referee, you end up retiring. What made you feel like it was time to hang it up and step away?
I got fired.
Okay. Tell me about that. What happened?
Well, I got a little kind of big for my britches. We fly everywhere we go. But when we go into like Chicago, and then we'd have to do Milwaukee, well, that ain't that far.
Yeah.
So you rent a car and drive to Milwaukee, or you had to do a spot show somewhere, which are little towns. And I just got too big for my britches, saying, I ain't renting a car going over there, even though they paid for the car.
Yeah.
But instead of going to the little town, I would come home. And I was warned about 3-4 times from Terry Garvin, you got to start making them towns. And then I missed one more, and I showed up, and you don't work here no more.
Okay, so I guess retirement was forced upon you, huh?
Yeah.
And well, okay, but and once that happened, once you were done with wrestling, you were done with wrestling. Because to my knowledge, right, you never popped back up. You never did any more shows. You've never done interviews. That was it. Done, clean break, cold turkey.
Yep.
Why did you decide? Because so many guys can't let it go completely. Why did you decide? How did you decide that was it? I'm done. I'm moving on.
Well, I'm starting to get a little older there. I'm in my 50s, and it's just time to go.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get a big push anywhere anymore, so that ain't going to happen. And time to go.
Yeah, but it's so funny because so many guys have trouble, no matter what level they're at, just leaving that behind. That little bit of recognition they have, and you didn't.
Well, I
you just washed your hands of it and moved on.
My day in the sun. I got to shine a few places, and that was good enough for me. Especially when I came to the realization that I wasn't going to be nothing in the WWF.
Yeah, Jack. I don't know if anybody's told you, but that sounds way too healthy for being from a professional wrestler. I'm sorry, but I don't think that's how it works, Jack. I think that's too healthy of a thinking. I'm sorry, but no. I'm glad, right? Because that's, like I said, so many guys have trouble hanging on, and you did what you did. You had a great career, and and like I said, you've never done interviews, right? I mean, have you done any interviews prior to this one?
Only one for a magazine in Ohio.
Okay. So you're right. You did a magazine, never done a podcast, never done anything else. And now I've got you, which I'm so grateful for. But it's fun because it's like you left it so far behind, but here you are. You don't have any trouble talking about it, and you love talking, and you're telling these stories and having a good time. It's just, I think you're one of a kind there, Jack, because so many guys can't make that break, and again, it's too healthy. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Well, I know this, that a lot of guys that are my age, I'm, in the 70s, they're still going around putting up booths in these places for fans to come and still buy memorabilia from them.
Jack, there are still some of those guys in the 70s that are still trying to wrestle matches.
Yeah, I know. Jimmy Valiant, it was what? 70?
He just had his final match. What, as he's saying, is his final match just a couple weeks ago.
Well, I think they called that Boogie's Last Dance.
That's right. Well, yeah, and I don't, with Jimmy Valiant, we'll see. I love Boogie, but we'll
because
see.
He wrestled after that.
Yeah.
And he's still going. He's got his school.
Yeah.
And I've been there. He's got that picture I told you I gave him. He's got that hanging in his office. He's got Duke George, me, and somebody else on one of the banners he's got hanging around his ring at the school.
Right, yeah.
And that's not just a school, that's a museum as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So it's funny because, right, so you look back with fond memories of your wrestling career.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It is just that chapter of your life. Have you gotten offers to do some conventions, any appearances, anything like that? Or just when you stepped away, it was just cut. No one really bothered you after that. How did that happen?
They didn't know how to bother me. When I was gone, you couldn't get a hold of me unless you knew somebody I knew.
Right. That's right, Jack. That's how I got you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't just go ahead and let me look this Kruger guy up.
Hey, I'm telling you, that's true. That's very, very true. But yeah. And again, Jack, I'm so glad that you agreed to talk to me. And I just want to say, I know you don't. Again, I know you've not done these things, but I, as a fan, when I grew up, I appreciate what you did. I always loved your work. I always thought you were a fantastic heel, and so I'm appreciative. I'm glad you talked to me. Again, a lot of people I know, depending on who you are, know you from different veins, from Indianapolis, from Portland, from the referee thing. There's all these different chapters of your career that people know you from. I'm glad you agreed to come on and talk to me. I'm glad you're doing well. And again, I'd love to have you on again in the future and tell more stories, because I bet you could tell even more.
I know a whole bunch of wrestling stories.
I bet. Again, and I didn't want to keep you too long. I don't want to take up too much of your time. So when you look back and when people hear this, right, Jack Kruger's first interview, when people look at you and if they go out and look at your career and your matches and start thinking about you, what would you hope they remember about old Jack Kruger, of whether it be Sheikh Ali Hassan, Abdullah Ali Hassan, the Iranian assassin? What do you hope people remember and think about you?
How good of a heel I was. Never worked as a babyface.
Never.
Not even switch from heel to babyface.
Yeah. Yeah, Did you ever have the desire to do that?
No.
Okay.
It's so much easier being a heel, in my opinion, than yeah.
Yeah. It's easier to make people hate you, right?
I used to, I guess, my eyes. I'd do something with my eyes in the ring, and they'd say, "Look at his eyes."
Yeah.
Nuts. Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I actually had, in Portland at the sports arena, we did that every week right there.
Uh-huh.
And we also taped for Washington State, Seattle, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting in the ring, and I look over, and there's two guys sitting with one another, and they're wearing the Sheikh headgear.
Okay.
And so I knew a few words in Arabic, and they start laughing. I said, "Well, I got some believers."
All right.
But in Oregon, everywhere I went, to restaurants, anything, I always had that thing on my head.
Yeah. Yeah, right. You kept the gimmick, right? Live the gimmick.
Yep, you got to. Especially in that area like that. That was...
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm afraid that that did something bad for wrestling when they quit doing and they're coming back now, the smaller territorial.
Right, yeah.
We just had a group come in here to Danville.
Yeah.
Going through. But my theory, and I still believe it to this day, if you're going to do house shows around, spot shows, territorial, you need TV.
Right. Yeah, you got to have something to drive it, right? But do you watch wrestling at all? Have you been to any shows?
No.
Nope. No interest.
It's so different than when I did it.
It is.
It's scripted, and you were told what to say on interviews. And no, when I did it, that was all ad-libbed. Whatever came into your head at that time, that's what come out your mouth.
That's right. Yep.
It was a total different ball game.
Yes, it definitely is.
Scripted, and you go out there, you call your match, and it went wrong. That's your fault because you're the one that called the match.
That's right.
Not somebody else.
Yeah.
Nobody
especially as a heel, right?
Yeah.
Especially as a heel, you had to call that match and control that match. Yeah.
Well, because I was a little intimidated by Wilbur Snyder and Dick and getting the ring, and I had one of the best compliments you could ever get from Wilbur Snyder, who was big Midwest guy.
Yep.
I had a Texas death match, falls counted in and out of the ring.
Sure. Okay.
Didn't matter. And we ended up fighting. We almost had a riot in Peoria, Illinois.
Yeah.
And we always want to check with your guy that you worked with. Is everything all right? No spuds? Everything good? And I sneak over to the babyface dressing room, and I'm hiding behind the lockers, and I hear Wilbur Snyder telling Bobo Brazil, Kruger can work. I said, whoa. That's a compliment.
It is, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. I enjoyed stuff like that. Bobo used to tell Bruiser, Kruger on the card, I want to work with him. He's the one, I want to work with him.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing, because Bobo was very popular.
Right, yeah. And no bigger compliment, right, than those guys, those veterans, wanting to work you. I mean, that's that's the best compliment you can get.
Yep. I said, oh, the guys that I grew up watching, my heroes, are now saying it was a pleasure to work with me.
Yeah, great. That's awesome. So is there anybody at all from I mean, I know a lot of them probably passed away. Is there anybody from the business that you still are in contact with?
Jimmy Valiant once in a while.
Okay.
But like you said, most everybody else is gone. I also thought about showing up where they're having one of these. They had one in Indianapolis I should have went to, where the guys got their own little booths and selling everything.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought I'd just show up to one of them and find old guys. Because me and the Honky Tonk Man were fairly good friends.
Did you get to know him up there in Calgary?
No, actually I got to know him in Memphis when he was one of the blonde bombers.
Okay. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. That's where you cross paths, right? Yeah. I mean, I would love to see Jack Kruger out there a little more and a little more of a presence and doing some things. And I'm telling you, I think the world needs more Jack Kruger. So hopefully, maybe we'll see a little more. Maybe we'll hear a little more from you.
Well, look, you can still see me on YouTube.
I definitely can. Absolutely. You're all over YouTube and all over everything.
Yeah.
Especially that WWE stuff. There's lots of Jack Kruger out there refereeing. You're immortal. It's been preserved. You can't hide
That was good times. And, we'll hook up again another time and just tell old war stories.
I hope so, Jack. I hope. Yeah, I'd love to do it again, talk again. Again, I don't like to go too long, so yeah, I'd love to do a part 2 sometime and just have you tell some more stories and everything else. So
sounds good to me. Thank you for calling.
Jack.
Available on all streaming platforms. It's professional wrestling's greatest, largest, privately owned wrestling library. All the classic hits, flips, slams, and pins of yesteryear are on one place. It's Ultimate Classic Wrestling. Check out the Nature Boy Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Mr. USA Tony Atlas, Tito Santana, Rick Martel, a who's who of professional wrestling's greatest spotlight stars ever to grace the squared circle, all in one place. Grab the best seat in the house for memories and mayhem on Ultimate Classic Wrestling.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here. Lots of new stuff happening here at WrestleCopia. If you haven't checked out our website at WrestleCopia.com, it's a great way to keep up with the latest episodes of all of your favorite Copia programming, from the Wrestling Memory Grenade to Regional Wrestling with the Territory Talk, the Wrestling Stoop with the legendary Bob Roop, and of course all of those programs also available at your favorite podcast streaming platforms. And if you want to stay up to date with everything going on in the Copia world, all the latest news, random thoughts, fun videos, pictures, and more, make sure to join the more than 33,000 followers over at Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. Don't be left out. And last but definitely not least, it's what keeps the entire machine going. I'm talking about Patreon.com/WrestleCopia. We appreciate your support in helping us pay the bills to keep the WrestleCopia podcast network running and enabling us to continue to bring you all the quality programming that we offer.
Okay, and thank you to Jack for coming on the show and granting me his first ever podcast appearance and interview. I'll have Jack back again in the future because he has so many more stories to tell us. Follow me on social media. I'm on pretty much all the platforms. Just look up Nostalgic Dave Dynasty and you can find me. Also, be sure to subscribe to me on YouTube for lots of great classic wrestling content, plus all of my various podcasts. Go check out all of the WrestleCopia Network podcasts. You can find them individually on your favorite podcast platform, or you can visit WrestleCopia.com. Also, be sure to check out my friends at the Ultimate Classic Wrestling Library. Visit ClassicWrestling.net to sign up for your account and then download the app on all of your smart devices. All right, guys, watch social media for the announcement of what's going on with next episode. And until then, wherever you go and whatever you do, be good, be safe, and always keep on growing.
Fans, we brought you All-Star Championship Wrestling. This is Sam Manager thanking you for being with us and saying until next time, so long, everyone.